Now, here's kind of something interesting. I don't know how many of you guys speak a different language, but if you think about it, right, free is an ambiguous term. Free can mean it costs nothing. It's zero price. Or it can mean with no restrictions. Advertisers, marketeers, companies, pub owners have been using the difference, the fact that English is ambiguous around those terms free for years to try to build their businesses. So today, we're going to pay a lot of attention to the difference between restrictions and the difference between gratis or for free. So, an overview of our free tools. We offer something called Unitrends Enterprise Backup Free Edition. We'll talk about each one of these in today's session. What this is automated backup. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but this is what we call real backup that is free, and we'll go through what's restricted on that. Boomerang. Boomerang is a free tool that we offer that allows you to take VMware VMs and migrate Cloudburst and do disaster recovery up to the Amazon cloud. We'll talk about what we offer free, what the restrictions are, et cetera, on that. VCDR Link is actually a tool that we provide that has absolutely no restrictions. It is a tool that allows you to build a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. You can do so. We keep the information in our cloud. And of course, it's there because if you were to keep it somewhere locally and you had a disaster, you'd lose the advantage. We'll go through that. We have a backup capacity tool that's really just a free trial. And we'll talk about what it does, but it's free for a limited amount of time. Same with the storage inventory tool. And then finally, we'll talk about RTA calculator. RTA is a term which stands for Recovery Time Actual. Most of you are probably familiar with the terms RPO and RTO. RPO stands for Recovery Point Objective, but the simple way to think about that is how much data can I afford to lose worst case. So if your backups are going every 15 minutes, you can lose 14 minutes and 59 seconds. That's your RPO. Your RTO is how long it takes you to recover. All right, with that said, let's dive right into the tools. So, Unitrends Enterprise Backup Free Edition, it's software that we've offered off and on, and I'll talk about that off and on in just a minute, for about 2 years now. What this is a full-bore version of our Unitrends Enterprise Backup software product. It is license limited to only 8 VMs. It works for VMware and Hyper-V, and it works, unlike the other tools that you'll usually find, it works for free ESXi or unlicensed ESXi. By the way, it does that not through any kind of miracles. I've had a couple of people, when I said that, say, when they got the product and they started using it, they say, well, wait a minute, you tricked me. And I said, how did I trick you? They said, this isn't doing backup at the HOS or host level. And I say, yeah, I can't. VMware will sue me if I do. VMware legally prohibits you from doing a HOS, or sometimes what's called a VADP backup, a VMware API for data protection backup through their hypervisor. The way you do that is you treat the VMs as physical. And so we had such a demand when we started this free program for Unitrends Enterprise Backup. We had such a demand from people who had free licenses that we decided to allow it to also handle 8 VMs on a physical basis. So that's really that product. What I want to underline to you, and the reason for this little real backup for up to 8 VM or Hyper-V VMs, this is not like some free backup tools out there that aren't automated. In other words, that are basically just transfer tools. Again, this is the full version of our Unitrends Enterprise Backup for VMware and Hyper-V. So you can set it for automated backup. I actually have had an argument with one of the guys over at one of my competitors saying that non-automated backup is copy. Why are you calling something that's a copy automated backup? And of course, they just had a different point of view, and of course, the search terms for free backup are pretty big in the industry. So real backup means it's real live backup, what you'd expect if you spent thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on backup, you get with this piece of software. But it is limited to 8 VMware or Hyper-V VMs. So if you need 9, that's where we expect you to pass. So again, it's got elements of that, the free use, the gratis, but it also has, like most things, a restriction. And so in that regard, it sits between the two. All right. The next thing is kind of interesting. The free tool is called Boomerang. Boomerang is a technology that is a little bit different than standard backup. What Boomerang does is it allows you to take your VMware environment, you put a small virtual appliance in your VMware environment, and then it basically acts as a connector or a bridge between VMware and Amazon or AWS. It does so in an interesting way. It doesn't cost very much on the Amazon side. It doesn't use any compute in Amazon. So if you're familiar with Amazon, you know that where Amazon makes its money is on what's called compute, or what's also called EC2. And then they also make money on what's called block storage, or EBS. One of the least expensive things at Amazon is the object storage. What Boomerang does is it allows you to take your VMware environment and to send that environment up to Amazon to go into that object storage, that very inexpensive storage. Then, so that's called a migration. You can also do cloud bursting with it. And the way that cloud bursting works is that you migrate your VMware environment, one VM or many VMs, up to Amazon. And when you want to spin it up, when you want to use it, you go in and you then get EC2 and EBS involved. So to tell you how effective this tool is, the person in Sydney, our R&D for this group is out of Sydney, Australia. She was able in 2 hours to take the Unitrends Enterprise Backup and to put it in Amazon and get it running through using Boomerang. So Unitrends Enterprise Backup, if you're wondering what took 2 hours, it's hundreds and hundreds of megabytes, so it's a big program, and it worked like a champ. Why was it able to send that much data up to Amazon so quickly? We do source level deduplication, which cuts the amount of space that has to be sent up to Amazon, the amount of blocks. The last use case for Boomerang is as a disaster recovery tool. In other words, if you think about it, if I can migrate to Amazon and I can cloud burst to Amazon, I can also protect my VMware environment in Amazon. And that's simply done by using the migration, the cloud bursting capabilities on a schedule. There's also very efficient fail back mechanisms. So you fail back only the blocks that have changed since your backup, since your VMs were sent up to Amazon. Finally, and this is my favorite thing, it's the simplest piece of software you've ever seen. I actually had my 80-year-old mom go to use this. Now, I had to set up her Amazon account. I'm not going to lie to you. And, of course, I had to set up her VMware environment because she's not a VMware person. But once I did, using it was as simple as anything in the world. She remarked it was a lot simpler than her iPad. So that's another free tool. It's limited to one VM. You get one VM for free. And once you go past one VM, all the pricing is on the website for this tool. It's called vmboomerang.com, but it's also in our free tool section on the Unitrends site. And that's the restriction of it. But if you haven't tried it, I'm always impressed with it for what it does. We talked a little bit earlier about the business continuity and disaster recovery planning tool. This is a free, without restriction tool. In other words, not only do you get this gratis, you don't pay for it, but there are absolutely no restrictions associated with any form of its use. We think that if you're going to be a backup company and you're going to be into data protection, you ought to be helping your customers and in fact, the community out there. You ought to be helping them with what happens when things really go bad, right? Hurricanes, fires, any tornadoes, floods, any form of disaster. So what this is just a very, very detailed, based on a lot of benchmarking that we did over the years, plan that helps you protect not just your environment, but all aspects of what you need to do when a disaster strikes. Other than saying it's freer than free, not quite sure what to say, other than having been involved in a few disasters in my life. It's always the worst feeling in the world, right, as you wake up and there's been a fire, or in this case, one that happened to me a few years ago, there was no fire, but for whatever reason, all the fire detection equipment thought there was. And this was a few years back, and this particular little environment wasn't state-of-the-art Halon and all that fancy stuff. It just ruined all the servers. And I had people coming to work. I had support people. I had salespeople, and there was no way to notify them. There was no alternative strategy. It wasn't just about servers. It wasn't just about data. It was around getting that company back up and running. That's what this tool allows you to do. Our RTA calculator. So Unitrends, we'll talk at the end of this about what Unitrends offers and what Unitrends does, but one of the things that we're real believers in is that RPO and RTO is nice, but you really need to know exactly how long it takes to recover and what you get back. So we built a recovery time actual calculator, and it's going to determine the time that it's going to take you to recover your VMware VM and applications. Now, we have very advanced tools to automatically protect and to send you reports, and again, I'll talk about those in a minute. But this is a useful little tool to help you in your environment if you're not using, for example, Unitrends backup or Unitrends recovery series appliances, and you're not using our reliable DR set of services. What this does is take just a little piece out of that to come back and tell you how long it will actually take to run things. The reason I like this, and I think most of you guys get this who are IT professionals, when you first set up backup and recovery, it seems like everything's great. The trouble is your data grows. And your data grows and the environments get more complicated. So I like using this little tool when I'm in non-Unitrends environments, because again, we have paid tools for this. But I like using this tool just to see, right, check every month or two, what's going on in my environment. Now, that's a great use case. I think it works better if you know that you can recover on a guaranteed basis every 15 minutes. But we're not doing that for free. All right, so that's that tool. That's free, unlimited. Now we're going to talk about some free trials, just 2 of them. But I want to call out that they really are trials. They aren't free tools like the other free tools you've seen. What do I mean by that? Well, every other tool you've seen, there's no time restriction. You might be limited in how many VMs, you might be limited in some other way, but you're not limited by time. We call that a trial. So these are really trials. The reason we call them out as free tools is that, and I'll go ahead and say it, there's nothing to stop you from using the free trial multiple times, and we found these are pretty valuable tools. So backup capacity. What backup capacity does is it gives you a point-in-time snapshot for all your files. Now, these files can be either within the VM or on a physical server. So what makes this so interesting? Well, a lot of you with experience here knows that most, not all, but most backup companies do storage deduplication. Well, storage deduplication relies on both deduplication and compression. If you have a bunch of compressed JPEG files, you're not going to get very much compression, although if those files don't change, you'll get a good bit of deduplication. By looking at the backup capacity tool, we're able to help buyers, help customers, users with that understanding of their environment. In addition, a lot of our customers and our buyers, right, one of the big problems they have is they back up too much. They're always backing up more and more, and so the backup window goes in the wrong direction. And in terms of physical appliances, it means you need a bigger physical appliance. So we like having customers use this tool when they tell us, you know, I think I'm backing up too much. Can you help me? This helps them, in addition to what our tools show them, it helps them look at their overall environment, including things we're not backing up. And then there's this trial. It's a free 10-day trial of storage inventory. Now, unless you've got SANs and NASs and a relatively large and involved environment, you may not be interested in this tool. But if you do, and if you've got multiple business units, and this goes into our customers that are, you know, have a few hundred employees up to thousands of employees. There are multiple business units, they've got large SANs and large NASs, and they're trying to understand their capacity and their utilization of their common storage. That's what this tool is about. It's very elaborate, it's very detailed, and what it does is it helps you from the business unit all the way down to, you know, the LUN level, et cetera, understand that capacity usage. So guys, that's it for free tools. I'm going to talk to you real quickly about what Unitrends does, and then we're going to take questions. What we do is pretty simple. We provide cloud-empowered, all-in-one protection that increases confidence. So it sounds a little stilted, so let me be clear about what we do. We think it's our mission in life to make IT professionals' jobs a little bit easier. And that's what we mean by confidence. Confidence means, yes, things are available. We do Windows Instant Recovery, VMware and Hyper-V Instant Recovery. But it also means that we got your back at 2 a.m. when you've lost a server or two, and you're trying to get it back up, and you're trying to get your environment back up. We see our mission in life as increasing IT professionals' confidence so that they can go focus, you know, one, on doing the cool things in IT, maybe using Docker, you know, or exploring Docker as an alternative to VMware or with VMware. It's one of the things we're doing in our labs right now, so that's why it comes to mind. But also, right, so you can get home in time to have dinner with your family, that you don't have a anxiety attack when something goes wrong at 3 in the morning with your primary SharePoint server. All in one, it's our approach. It's not just the fact that we do hardware, it's the fact that we don't nickel and dime on little software attributes. And then finally, cloud empowered. I'll discuss this in a minute, but we really see the on-premise and the cloud kind of coming together in one solution set. That's why we talk about that. We protect over an exabyte of customer data today. We're pretty proud. We're trying to get that up and moving, but an exabyte is an awful lot of data, so being able to say 2 on that chart is going to take a few more years. We're headquartered in Burlington, Massachusetts. It's right outside of Boston. I moved there last September. It's a great place. It's really, really cold. I moved there from South Carolina, so I'm still recovering. We have 400 employees in 5 locations: Boston, Columbia, also London, Madrid, Philadelphia, and Sydney. 13,000 customers. It may be up to 15,000 now. This chart was done a while back. And we have 8,000 registered partner affiliates. And what we mean by that are, those aren't just partners, those are people inside partners selling and supporting Unitrends. This is an eye chart, so please forgive me, but it is at a very high level what we're about. We believe in convergence. We believe that IT professionals, and certainly the buyers of our product, do not want to tinker around with operating systems and different software for backup and replication and archiving and all that. So all this chart shows is that over time we moved from, the industry has moved from this legacy backup software approach to backup appliances, being able to spin up single VMs in the cloud. Backup appliance 2 is when we really get to this idea of cloud empowered. And what that means is that you can spin up in the cloud. One of our recent offerings, I guess it was mid-14, was Unitrends Cloud, where you can spin up physical Windows, Hyper-V, or VMware in our cloud and keep your business running in case you lose one server or you lose an entire data center. And then Backup Appliance 3 is really the future of where we're taking the company. We really believe that rather than just be relying on one cloud, that really you got to be open. So in addition, the reason that we have the Boomerang tool is we're incorporating that into all of our technology, and we're going to offer this disaster recovery as a service, our ability to reliably guarantee that you can recover both on-premise and in the cloud. We're going to offer that not only in our cloud, but AWS, Azure, OpenStack, and others. I like cartoons, so very quickly, the customer pain we try to fix is the recovery pain. Now, a lot of higher-level execs and managers don't get this, right? But if the one guy who knows how SharePoint depends on Exchange, depends on Active Directory, and what the timing is to bring up the servers, if they get hit by a bus, it's awful hard to recover that entire infrastructure. Easy to recover a VM, hard to recover the entire infrastructure. So that's why we tell this joke. The other piece, right, is if you're going to work in the cloud and you're going to work with other people's clouds, you got to have a transmogrifier. Transmogrifiers in Calvin and Hobbes are just about being able to turn one thing into another. So we can turn, using our technology called Bridge, we can turn physical Windows into VMware and Hyper-V. We can turn VMware into AMI, Amazon Machine Images. More importantly, we can change networks. We can go from a vSwitch configuration to an Amazon CloudFormation configuration. Our offerings: physical appliances. We have software as well as our reliable DR product. We offer the Unitrends Cloud that we talked about already, and of course we offer Boomerang. You see a lot of these things within our free tools offering where we offer restricted versions, right? And finally, we're about done. I'll tell you, the part that interests me, where we're getting the most people interested in Unitrends right now, is not only on the cloud, but it's on something we're calling deep virtualization. Sounds fancy. Actually, a bunch of buyers came to us and said, you know, every time that I use this other virtualization backup product or products, and I have a busy Exchange server and I take a snapshot, everything breaks because the change rate's pretty high. What can you do? And we coined this term deep virtualization, where we can protect both at the host level and at the deeper virtualization level. The last thing, in terms of, we've got just a few changes that we recently made. Got a new set of physical appliances that have next generation tiered flash. We're doing hybrid cloud platforms, and we're building out the basis for this high confidence environment. So, with that said, we've got a few more minutes. Questions?
Thanks, Mark. We got a couple questions that have come in. And also, I've got a couple links here that I'd like to share with everyone. So let's start with the questions, and then I'll put the links up. The first question, thank you, Hasbrook. Do all 8 VMs on the free version of ESXi have to be on the same host, or can they be spread across 2 or 3 different hosts?
That's a great question, and I believe that it's separate hosts, but what we need to do is we need to make sure of that for you. I'm not aware of, and here's the thing, we've got about 15,000 free users of this, well, actually it's 20,000 now, free users of the software, and I'm personally not aware, and I talk to a lot of customers, I'm not aware of anybody using it split host. So let me make sure of that, and what we'll do is we'll get your name and email, and then I'll send you a note on that.
Also, it's not often that we get someone to stump Mark here, so Hasbrook, I'm going to send you a T-shirt as well. When you send us your name and email, we'll make sure to get your address and send that out. I also, in the chat here, I'm sticking a link to download Unitrends and free ESXi, so anyone who wants to go and test that out can go ahead and do that. The next question is what's the difference between your free and paid version of UEB?
Not a bit. It's always a great question, and there are other vendors that have free backup, and it's a completely different product. There's absolutely nothing. The way that we decided to go after this is that we wanted to be really clear about what was offered and what wasn't. And in this product, the difference between free and paid within virtual environments is nothing at all. Now, within the one difference, though, if you wanted to start going deeper, like deep application support, not just application quiescing or even transaction logging, rolling, but if you wanted to get really into the transactional support of Exchange so that you did a better job of dedupe or whatever, that's not offered. This is a virtual-only product with the sole exception that we do that free ESXi piece. So the answer is, in terms of what it supports and how it supports it, no difference. But there are differences in advanced functionality associated with non-virtual environments, such as deep virtualization. Another one would be something like NDMP. We don't offer NDMP within that free version either, because, of course, NDMP is a device, not a VM.
Awesome. Another one here from Andrej is, if I recall, there was a version of your backup product especially licensed for VCP, also for free. Is it still available?
And I missed the acronym. Could you repeat the acronym?
VCP.
No, we've never done one. I think that might be another vendor, but we've never done one for VCP. I want to make sure I understand because I'm going back in my mind. By VCP, you mean VMware Certified Professionals? So that's the answer. So VCP, I'm trying to think back the annals. So either we're talking about 2009, 2010 kind of technology, or we're talking about VMware Certified Professionals, people like VTSPs, VSPs, VCPs, that kind of thing. And the answer is yes, there's a different version called the NFR version. That gives you 2 sockets for free, and it's still available.
Great. Yeah, and that was correct, VMware Certified Professional. Thanks for the question. Next up is a follow-up of the first question is, can you use those 8 VMs across both VMware and Hyper-V?
Yes.
Simple answer. Excellent. And can you pick and choose which 8 you want to back up on vSphere 3 host cluster?
Okay, you need to send a T-shirt because I get stumped again because I haven't heard VMware 3 in a long time. So I'm not, and VMware 3 is where you get back into, I'm not sure the availability of the VADP or VMware APIs But you could, I mean, one thing you could do is you could protect VMware 3 definitely at the guest level. So I guess the answer is yes. And then the bigger answer that you're looking for is yes. If you wanted to use this as a way to protect 8,000 VMs, and you wanted to change those VMs every day or every half hour manually, you could do it that way.
Great. And then last question here. Hopefully, I think you'll enjoy this one. Is how do your products compare to Veeam?
Well, we're infinitely better. No, seriously. So this is the way I like to put it. So I joined the company in 2008, and the reason I did, because I'd worked AT&T, I was head of their enterprise business, and then I went over to a company called Legion, and I ran their systems management business. And then I kind of consulted for a decade, and I kind of fell in love with this company because it kind of took the Apple iPod approach to backup. It basically, I had known about and used and worked with backup for years, but what they were doing was they were trying to simplify. They were trying to build this all-in-one simple device, and I loved it. Then we released software, and we took the same approach. So what I would tell you about how we compare to Veeam is pretty simple. Veeam's built a really nice, because it is, they've got a nice virtual-only backup solution. They've got a little free endpoint protector, too, as another free tool. But they've built a really nice virtual-only backup that works through those host-level APIs. It doesn't, I mean, and it's, and I don't mean this to be negative, right, but it's simple in the sense that they don't have to do very much. So, for example, there is no awareness of Oracle, right? When Oracle tells you not to run something within a VM, there are no Oracle-aware agents that you can put into your VM as well as protecting at the HOS level. So that concept of deep virtualization goes away. Concepts such as NDMP or advanced supportive tape, it's kind of it's a new, relative, again, coming back to being very positive. Well, one other note, right? It doesn't do storage deduplication. So it does something when you're backing up called inline dedupe, but it doesn't do that across jobs. Well, most of your dedupe happens across jobs. So, but for what it is, it's kind of almost like a point product. So in that point, it works well until you start pushing. Unitrends, on the other hand, has a set of technologies that takes the very best of the HOS level backup, but melds that with what people need when they start pushing backup even further. And so, what I would answer is that we tend to take a more complete view of protecting data. We also tend to do things like we don't sell software that sits on Windows, which is what Veeam Backup and Recovery is. We sell these integrated virtual appliances for that work in the VMware or the Hyper-V environment, simply to try to simplify what's going on for the end customer. I think that's the best way to describe it. I got to tell you, it's a great question. We have a lot of resources on the website. And the reason I always end with a slide that shows my email address and my Twitter handle is I welcome email. I welcome people, contacting me directly and talking about this kind of stuff. I'm one of those nerds that loves this stuff. I eat and drink it and breathe and sleep it. So again, don't be worried about coming. Anything you want to talk about in more detail, be glad to do so offline.
Thanks, Mark. Couple extra questions here, and we'll follow up with all of those via email. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This has been recorded, and we'll make sure to send the recording and the slides out to everyone as soon as they're available. Thanks again, and hope you all enjoyed.